Welcome to the Root of Power podcast, where I teach you how to chase your joy, find alignment, and create a life and a business that you love, using actionable methods, interviews, and inspiring stories from people who know that true freedom is found within. I'm your host, your always hype woman and sometimes ass kicker, Amanda Chils, and I am so proud of you for choosing to step into your power. Come along, we've got dreams to build. Okay, my love, I have put everything that I offer for free on one page so that we are not doing more work than we have to, because why would we do that? Hashtag work smarter, not harder. So livemyhappyhealth.com/free. You are going to find everything I've created for not only leveling up in your personal life and building a life that you love, but leveling up in your business life and building a business that you love. Okay? livemyhappyhealth.com/free. Love you. Hello. Welcome to this week's episode where I'm going to call a lot of bitches out. this episode being a little spicy one. I hear a lot that one of the reasons, we'll just jump right in. I hear a lot that one of the reasons people don't want to do therapy is, well, I talked to my friends about it. No. Let's not confuse things that are therapeutic with therapy. Okay, they are different things. Now, I can see why people have this misconception. One, a lot of people don't understand what the fuck therapy is. That's fine. I will tell you. Two, a lot of therapists don't know what the fuck they're doing. So I can see why it's confusing. Or people are like, well, I went to a therapist for 2 or 3 years or 10 years or whatever the fuck amount of time, and all they did was listen. My friends at least give me feedback. And it's like, yeah, I can see why those people think that talking to their friends is therapy, because they had a therapist who listens. And if I do nothing else in my time on this earth, although I will be doing many more things, one of the things that I intend to do is to teach everyone that a good therapist does not just listen. You know who just listens? The horses in my field. And they're great at it. They never say anything. They just listen to me without judgment. It's so great. And they're free. We love that for us. You know who doesn't just listen? The fucking goats. They always got some shit to say. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it ain't. But they always got some shit to say. My horses, though, never. They're beautiful, listening baby angels. You know who should not be just listening to you? Your fucking therapist. A good therapist job. A therapist's job is to take the spaghetti that has been the shit that you've dealt with, the shit you've experienced, untangle the spaghetti, and then teach you skills to heal your nervous system, to rewire your subconscious, to rewire your brain, to heal and live a life where you are thriving. That requires learning skills. So if your therapist just listens to you, fire them and find someone who teaches skills. Amanda, how do I know if they teach skills? When you interview a therapist, yes, we want you to interview a therapist. Ask them, what do you teach people the most? And if they're like, oh, well, what? No, they don't teach you shit. If someone asks me, what do you teach the most? I'm going to say boundaries, rewiring your nervous system, challenging beliefs. Like, there are things that therapists should be teaching. This is one of the reasons why your talking to your friends is not therapy. Is it therapeutic? Maybe. Depends on your friends. But it's not therapy. While they may help you see some things, maybe in a new light, or have a realization that feels helpful, they are not teaching you skills. And because they're not trained in trauma, they're not trained in anxiety, depression, whatever, which is all the root of trauma, they're not trained. So they quite literally can't help you heal because they don't know how. It's like asking a woodpecker to build you a house. It has a lot of experience with wood. It does not know how to build a house, nor does it have thumbs. So, some trouble there, of course. But it has a lot of experience with wood. So your friends may have a lot of experience with trauma. May have a lot of experience with relationships. That doesn't mean that they know how to get someone to heal. It doesn't mean they know how to teach skills. It just means they have experience with that thing. Not everyone who has experience with something knows how to teach, especially if they're not trained in trauma, in subconscious reprogramming, and nervous system health. They can't help you. They can help you to a point. They will not be able to help you heal. So talking to your friends is not therapy. Again, it may be therapeutic, but something can be therapeutic without being therapy, right? Like it's the same thing when people are like, gym is my therapy. No, it's not. 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 Therapy is therapy. The gym may be therapeutic. Talking to your friends may be therapeutic. Here's some reasons why talking to your friends is not therapy. Your friends are there to talk, right? But they don't know how to get you to realizations. They don't know how to get you to insights. They're not starting with an intention for you. They're just there to talk to you. And often when we are venting, when we're complaining, mind thinks it's useful because it's taking an action, but really it just gets us more stuck in our own shit. And I don't know about you, but I don't particularly want to swim in shit. If I'm swimming in shit, I want to get out of shit and into clear water. But just talking about the same thing over and over and over is not clearing the water. It's making it worse because you're stirring more shit up every time you talk about it if you're not processing it. Talking and processing are two completely different things. Processing is leading to insight. Processing is figuring out your role in the dynamic, where you could have done something differently, where we can ask them to do something differently. That's processing. And you may have friends give advice. That's not the same as processing. So if you're just talking about it over and over and over, you're just stirring up more shit. And then we're swimming in shit and no one enjoys that, except for maybe pigs. But they like mud. They don't like shit. So friends are there to talk, not to help you untangle spaghetti. Friends don't know how to teach you skills. Even if your friend is a therapist, it's not their job to be your therapist. Like they're not teaching you boundaries, reframing thoughts, challenging thoughts, rewiring your subconscious, how the nervous system adjusts when met with a traumatic experience, like why flashbacks happen, how to sleep. Like they're not teaching you skills because they don't know how. So how are you supposed to learn and do better next time if you don't learn so you can do better next time? Like, so friends don't know how to do that. They're probably biased, right? Because I hope your friends are ride or die for you. So we hate that motherfucker that wronged you, which like we love that energy. We love that energy. But it means that they're probably not going to tell you where it's you because they don't have the distance to be able to see it objectively. They're biased. Whereas like a therapist, I tell my clients all the time, like, I don't care what you do. This is your dream, not mine. This is your life, not mine. My life is good because I don't do the bullshit that, like, I just don't do bullshit. Like, I use the skills that I teach so that my life is good and I'm happy and balanced and regulated. Like, but I don't care what my clients do. Like, once they leave my driveway, they are not my problem. I want them to be happy. I hope they're happy and healthy. But like, if they leave my driveway and decide to go on a cocaine binge, like, that's not on me. But I'm 100% going to tell them, like, hey, maybe stop going on a fucking cocaine binge because it's fucking up your life. Whereas maybe your friends are biased and they're like, oh, do whatever you have to do to feel better. Or, oh my God, cocaine is so terrible. But they say it in a way that feels shamey, that feels judgy, that feels blamey. And so that's not helpful, right? So bias prevents the amount of helpfulness or the objectivity that is present and useful from a therapist. They may not see you regularly enough. Like therapy, everyone starts once a week or once every 2 weeks. So like that's a pretty regular schedule for a whole hour. So if you're like venting to your friends every 2 or 3 months, like, yeah, no, things aren't going to change. And also venting again is not processing. It's not the same thing. So they may not see you regularly enough, but even then, like, even if you are seeing a friend regularly and and just rehashing the same old shit that's happening. Again, you're just bringing up more shit and we're not actually clearing the water. They're just not trained. They're not trained to be helping professionals. Like, if your friend is a hairstylist, they get trauma dumped on a lot, but that doesn't mean that they're trained in trauma or healing. They literally don't have the training. Again, you wouldn't hire a woodpecker to build your house, even though they have experience with wood. It's not going to happen. Uh, they don't remember everything that's happened. So like therapists not only are meeting you that day, but they're remembering everything that you've ever said, or at least key points of things that you've said to say, oh, here's a pattern. Oh, this is related to that. Oh, this happened with there. That's probably where this is coming from. Like friends aren't doing that because they're not trained to. And it's not their job. Like your friend's job is to be there present with you, not to remember everything you've ever said. Although they may have a good memory of things that you've said, but it's different looking at it through a therapy lens where it's like, these are things that have happened. I know because of the training, this is how it impacts the nervous system. This is how it impacts the brain. This is how it impacts the way that you think about things, the way that you react to things. So your friends are just not trained in that. They just don't know. And that means that they can't help you because they have a lack of knowledge and it's not their job. And they don't see you regularly enough, like all the other things, right? Again, venting is completely unproductive. It's just stirring up shit again and again and again, but we're not clearing the water, which is a problem. So mind thinks it's being useful as an, oh, I'm talking about the problem. But then you're just talking about the problem, so it remains top of mind for however long you're talking about it. It's like you've had this happen, right? Where like if a coworker pisses you off in the morning and you talk to your friend about it at lunch and you talk to your partner about it after work, like you're just mad throughout the day now versus someone processing it with you so you can like actually be neutral about it. They're totally different things, but like that's happened to you. It's definitely happened to me where like I don't complain now. I will vent a little bit like once or twice about a thing, but like then I'm not talking about it anymore because I don't want it to stay top of mind. Your friends are nice. Here's one that happens all the time is like your friends are nice. They don't want to hurt your feelings, or they may go the opposite end and like really value brutal honesty. And I put that in quotes because it's really just them being a dick. Brutal honesty has no place. Now, does that mean that I don't intentionally use words that will shock a system? No, I do. I do. But I'm being all the way honest, not being brutally honest. When you know you're fucking that up and you're the problem, is not something I would say to a client. I would say, well, you are choosing that is different, right? So, like, your friends may be brutally honest. That's not helpful. Or they may be nice, which is not helpful. Because if someone's priority is to be nice, then they're not going to be honest because they want to spare your feelings. But that prevents you from knowing the truth. The therapists aren't really doing that. Like, our job is not to be nice. Our job is to be honest and to support you to be honest. So whatever decision you make with full informed consent. You may hold back because you don't want to be judged by your friend. So it's a little different when you're with a therapist where it's like the whole point is to be all the way honest. So if you're not all the way honest with your therapist, the fuck are you doing? That's a problem. Be all the way honest. Like that's how we learn and grow. Even the deep dark shit, right? Like trust me, we have seen and heard. You cannot shock us. You cannot shock us. Like it's not a thing. So being all the way honest is something you may not do with your friends because you don't want them to judge you. Which I get. That's a human thing, right? But it's not helpful. So again, that's a difference between a friend and a therapist. Therapists balance a lot of push and pull. So every therapist is not hammer, 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 hammer until they open. And not every therapist, every session. And every session is not just talking about nothing that's hard, right? There is a balance between I call it rimming when clients like don't want to go deep, like they're staying very surface level. And I'm like, no, what the fuck is going on here? So I call it flushing the toilet. I'm like, I'm going to flush the toilet. We're going deep. We're going down. I will shove you off a cliff energetically. Like, what work are we doing here? But friends don't know how to do that. So, like, they're just going wherever you lead them. But a therapist is letting you lead and also diving deeper when it's useful to do so. So there is like a push and pull, an energetic balance and a flow to sessions that therapists are doing that friends are not. Your friends may not be able to handle the trauma that you're coming to them with. So, like, I have a client who had a family member who was, telling her about this traumatic experience they had and telling and telling and telling, spending hours on the phone with them talking about it. And they told me, they were like, we're spending 2, 3 hours on the phone talking about these like really traumatic things. And I'm like, get off the phone with them. Like, they're trauma dumping, but like they didn't have the skill because boundaries can take a while to learn. And like there's a difference between boundaries with like, hey, I don't appreciate when you're homophobic in front of me, don't say those things, and like literally taking on someone's trauma without it affecting you is a totally different skill set. So like they were being trauma dumped on. Like this happens with hairdressers all the time, right? Like people just trauma dump on them, and these poor hairdressers aren't don't have the energetic boundaries that therapists have because they're not trained in that. So your friend may not be able to handle the trauma that you're talking about. And that actually causes harm. It's called vicarious trauma. Like that actually can cause harm to them because they don't know what to do with that information. They don't know what to do with the heaviness, the energy. Like, so you may be causing harm to your friends by bringing them these traumatic experiences and wanting to talk through them, which is not to say don't talk to them about it, but like be very aware that going to your friends with your traumatic experiences very well may traumatize them, may have really negative impacts on them. And that's not okay. So they may not be able to manage their own emotions around it. They may really struggle with the information that you're like laying on top of them. And I know that you don't want that for your friends, right? But it's something a lot of people are unaware of. Your friends are probably going to give you advice. Well, you should do this. You should do this. You should do this. Like, that's not what therapists do. It's not what good therapists do. Therapists should not be giving you advice. Why, Amanda? Because we are not the person who live with the consequences of your choice. You are. So I'm not going to tell anyone what to do. I may tell them, hey, what you're doing is completely unhelpful. But it's always their choice, right? Once they leave my driveway, they're not my problem. They're adults with their own agency. Even kids get to have a choice. I'm not going to take that away from them because it's disempowering and that's not my role. So I don't give advice. And they may say, like, what would you do in this situation? And I always, always, always start that response with understand that I have completely different circumstances. So what I would do in a situation is completely dependent on my situation, my environment, my brain, my body, my life versus theirs. So I'm not going to say, well, if I were you, I'd blah, 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 blah. If I were me, and I am me, obviously, like if it were up to me, here's what I would do. But understand, my life is different. Well, what would you say to your partner if he came at you screaming? Well, that depends on a lot of things. I have the ability to leave, right? Like, do I own the house we live in? Do I have enough money to leave? Like, am I safe in that moment? Is it going to escalate? Like, that's such a dependent factor. So it's kind of a silly question to say, like, well, what would you do? Well, I would do blah 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 blah. Like, it doesn't matter what I would do because I don't live your life, right? So like when friends are giving you advice, they're intending to be helpful, or they're intending to feel important, which is often what happens with people who are chronic advice givers. They want to feel important. And then they get mad when you don't do the thing that they said, like, okay, but you don't live their life and you don't have to. So therapists do not give advice, although friends very often do, but they ignore the differences in your life. So a therapist's actual job is to help you explore options and then make an informed decision. Yeah, if your partner is coming up to you screaming, you could punch them in the face. You could shove them out the window. You could run away and hide in a bathroom. Like, what are the options here? And then you make a choice with the information that you have and the options that are available, which is informed choice. So we're not giving advice. Um, yeah. So those are the differences. So if you know someone or you are someone who historically has been like, well, I'll just talk to my friends about it. I hope that this was illuminating for you. I hope that you can now tell your friend or your partner or your family member, like, oh, actually, that's not the same thing. And here's why. So yeah, they're just different, right? And like therapy is not for everyone. Not everyone has access to therapy. And I understand that. Although there are therapists that will do a sliding scale, meaning they will change their rate depending on what you can afford. Um, there are great books out there, but like someone intentionally walking you through the process of healing is not the same as venting to your friends. They are completely separate things. So I hope that this was useful. If it is, if any of the podcast episodes are useful, please consider leaving a 5-star review. If you're going to leave a 4-star review, just bump that up to 5 stars. It helps the podcast get in front of more people. It is incredibly helpful. Yeah, I hope that you've had the most beautiful day and you continue to have the most beautiful day. And if not, I hope that it gets resolved quickly and you use your big, beautiful brain to think of solutions. Have the best day.